You're listening to Satyavani,
the voice of the APJ Satya University, India's first liberal arts and meta university.
For further information, please visit our website university.apj.edu, university.apj.edu.
Hello to all my curious listeners. I'm Prakriti Didwania, and I'm excited to welcome you all to the Rainbow Podcast, a place where every soul belongs. At Rainbow Podcast, we believe in creating an inclusive platform for everyone who wants to share their voice and be heard. You all have probably heard about the term LGBTQIA, right? It stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning, intersex, asexual, and many others. Unfortunately, these identities are often labeled as unnatural or abnormal, and people in the community face discrimination. Growing up, I realized it's not just about the rainbows, it's about the people, the different sexualities coming together as one. I still remember the day when I first heard a silly joke in middle school, and I could not understand it. How can a single word amuse everybody but me? I tried asking and asking and asking, but the lips were sealed. So I did my own research and found out that it was a slur about being gay. And it made me so upset. Like, how can you laugh at somebody's identity? That is not at all fine, right? Movies. Movies can teach us so much. And when it comes to understanding the LGBTQI community, Bollywood has a big role to play. Some filmmakers have been working hard to spread awareness, but stereotypes and prejudices still exist in many films. Today, we'll dive into how cinema influences perspectives on the LGBTQI community and why it matters. For today's discussion, I'm here with a special guest who prefers spending their weekends being a big movie buff, is the biggest book lover I know, and an enthusiast of literature and cinema. She's been in the community for a while and is a dear companion of mine who I've known for years. Hello.
Hi Prakriti.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm very excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Me too. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. Can't wait to start the discussion.
Yeah, our chats are just now in a form of a podcast.
That's the fun part about it, no?
Yes.
So, how are you doing? What's up with life?
Life is good. Life is easy right now, so now I have a lot of time to watch movies, as you have mentioned. So life is easy and it's good right now.
So being a cinema enthusiast, what kind of films are you really into? Like, what kind of genres do you prefer watching while you're watching films?
As any girl ever does, it's rom-com is the best. Rom-com owns our heart, everything.
Yeah.
And I like all genres, but it depends on my mood because sometimes, like right now, I watch very gory stuff. It's scary, thriller, mystery. 4 weeks ago, I was watching comedy, romantic dramas and all that. So it depends on the mood. I love everything. If a movie is interesting, I will watch it.
Ah, that's nice.
Yes.
I've been noticing this a lot on Instagram and social media, and I feel like there has been a shift in the queer movies, the ones we used to see in the past and the ones we see now. Yes. There has been a shift. So what do you have to say about it?
I think the biggest shift is it's now commercial.
Yeah.
The movies were very indie, the vibes were very indie. Right now it's very commercial. We have like a big blockbuster, there are songs, there is a big party, but the story is about our community.
Yeah.
I know not everyone would like these movies because for some it's very surface level stuff, but it's nice to see you being in a space where, Shah Rukh Khan has dominated and everything and those kind of movies and stories about yourself.
Yeah.
It's a guy and a girl. Right now it's also a guy and a guy, a girl and a girl.
That's so beautiful to see now.
Yes. And it's the thing that I think a lot of older queer people, I think it's necessary for them to have such, commercial movies because all we get is very Oscar baity type movies. So I like that we have some commercial masala types.
That's amazing. So, like, if you talk about it, what would you say that this one is my favorite queer character?
I don't remember the character's name, but I loved Bhumi Padnekar's girlfriend in Badhai Do because I have a friend like that and it's like, oh, I'm seeing my friend on screen.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting. That's
And
interesting.
yes, that is because that movie was also felt like I was seeing the people I have known. Some are very open, happy. Some are
Yeah.
fighting with it. So
Yeah. You were able to get a sense of, personal connect when you were
Yes.
watching it. And that is the good part. Yeah.
yes, because I could see the people I interact daily in those characters, which was
Yeah.
very nice to see.
Yeah. And do you remember watching Dostana and Kal Ho Na Hua and those scenes in the movies where it was showing ki, having bro romance is just romance in a way, but not really romance, you see?
Yeah, it's also so funny because right now it's such a trend. I see on reels like the bromance, the bro code, and 20 years ago it was something different. If you say bromance, it didn't mean friendship. It meant John Abraham and Abhishek Bachchan being gay so that they can stay with Priyanka Chopra. I was a kid at that time and I used to also laugh and like ho dekho, but when I grew up and I realized like what is ho dekho? We are
Yeah.
people, but yeah, that is the surprising thing that we used to make fun of, the stories like that. And even if we take Karan Johar made Dostana, and now he had Rocky Rani Ki Prem Kahani, where Alia Bhatt's father character, he's a father Kathak teacher, and he is feminine, and that is okay. And so it's even in directors you can see that they are also accepting the change in perspective that time has given them. Because even though there are rumors about Karan Johar's sexuality and all, but he made movies where they were making fun of people like him, allegedly.
True.
And now he's also making movies where it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, you can be a cis person, but you can also be, you don't have to be, binary. You can be masculine. If you're a guy, you can be a little bit feminine. So that's really nice to see.
Yeah. And I would like to add into this, like, I remember recently watching Fire.
Yes.
And that is amazing. Let me tell you that. This is so amazing. I can't wait to tell you about it. So it's about like two characters called Sita and Radha, right?
Yes.
Two Indian women who are basically in like loveless marriages. And now it's very difficult for them to be themselves. And I remember seeing the movie and just feeling so deeply about it. And I would like to talk about those two scenes which just made me feel so much in my heart. Like, remember seeing that mirror wala scene when she sees Sita through the mirror and she can see a reflection of herself and how much she is feeling for her and how much she can resemble herself with her. The self-reflection metaphor is there, and that is so deep in nature.
And the thing is, you can perfectly understand all that is left unsaid. And it's so beautiful that I remember I just like I had some tears in my eyes, and like it was so beautiful because it was just two people in love. It didn't matter what their gender was. It didn't matter who they were. It was just two people in love, and they were just looking at each other, seeing each other, because that's what love is all being about.
Yeah, love is love. People can love whoever they want. Yeah.
Yes, and I just like that movie. Even though there have been so many groundbreaking movies, but I still like applaud Shabana Azmi and Deepthi Nawal. I think it was in the movie, and because at that time I remember talking to my mother about it, because when I first found out this movie, it was like in the list of underrated Bollywood classics, like a list of film filled with indie gems, and I didn't know it was like a queer movie, and I watched it, and at that time I wasn't out, but I just felt everything, and at the time I didn't even realize what my true feelings were, but that movie made me realize that I wasn't like, oh, this is me, but it was like, oh, this is so nice. Just two people in love, and
You could relate.
yes, and there is no gimmick in that movie. That's just to this day it feels so real. You can watch it 30 years later and you still love it because it's very real. So yes, we have so many amazing movies, but fire is fire.
Fire is literally fire. Yeah, and there was this other scene as well when Radha lights up the lamps in front of Lord Rama's shrine, and then she's reflecting on her love for Radha, and it's like she can't decide for her love for Radha and love for Sri Raman. It's very difficult for her. Like, where does she stand?
And nice to see because it's very integrated in our culture, because yes, we are devoted to God, but this is this thing that society tells us is wrong.
Yeah.
And we are sitting in front of the God, and it's like God is supposed to love us all, and there is a character sitting there and contemplating.
Yeah.
Because I interpreted that scene as like it's not her deciding between her love for God and like she could love either one person. It's like, is it okay for me to love her? I always thought of it like that because I understand, I have been through this. So I, not with God, but it's like, okay, is it okay? Till today, I like question it sometimes when there goes a long period of a time that I don't have a crush on a woman. And I'm like, am I still queer?
Yeah, you get that confusion inside.
Yes, yes. And because everything has to be numbered. This percentage of this percentage of that. So we can't just let it be okay, sometimes I like a guy, sometimes I like a woman. So we can't just let things be. Everything has to be liked, has to be numbered, these have to be shared. So I just, in that scene, it's like, okay, just be in love, that is everything.
Like it's wonderful. And I remember seeing the ending scene when they're just going and like going away from the camera. It's kind of an open ending, like you can visualize it yourself, like either they ended on a good note or they broke up or what happened, or everyone just like killed them or something. Like it's a very difficult scene to see, even in a way. Like you realize that being queer makes you think that nothing is for sure for you. Nothing is like definite. You don't know what will happen or what can happen with you, right?
Yes, and that, talking about this made me realize of a reel I saw yesterday. It was like, there was a girl and she was saying that I think I would end up alone because what if my mother says no? What if my mother says no and I have to choose between my mother and the girl that I'm in love with, and I can never leave my mother? And I was like, this is so real. And that ending, that's why when there is an open ending, you want to believe that it's a happy ending, but deep down inside you know there is a chance, a big chance. And queer stories, it's 90% of the time a heartbreak rather than a happy ending.
True that. This reminds me on a similar note that we forgot to talk about a movie which is very underrated, which is Kapoor and Sons.
Yes, Kapoor and Sons. And this movie, it's so controversial because a lot of people love it because of Fawaz's character. It wasn't like, okay, this character is gay, but he doesn't have the stereotypical things that people expect of characters like that having. But some people think it's just used as a plot twist. But I like it because like you don't see masculine guys in movies like that. And that too, I think for me it was like, okay, this is a Pakistani actor and he's Fawad Khan and he's openly playing that role. And if anyone has ever seen any Pakistani drama, you know the kind of shows, you know the kind of things they make. Anything progressive and they hate it. And for a character, okay, it's not me like applauding a man, but it's also like me applauding a man because that's a big thing. That
is a big thing.
And it's also very so assuring for people. Like if a gay guy sees, not just a gay guy, any woman who's attracted to Fawad Khan, and they see him playing that role, they realize, okay, I can be attracted to a guy like that, and someone like Fawad Khan is open, so maybe a lot of people are open. Like, a lot of us think that after some point we have to settle for something. And I just like these movies open a possibility in your mind, yes, maybe I also can have a happy ending. So that's why I liked it. Even though I remember being on Twitter and everyone just hating on this movie, but I liked it because, and for me, I never saw it as a queer movie. It was a family drama, family dynamic, and what is the biggest thing that could ever disrupt that family dynamic than you being queer?
Exactly. The black sheep of the family.
Exactly. And I think I like the fact that his mother, great Ratna Pathak Shah, was annoyed at him. But then the focus shifted to what actually was the problem, like how she favored one son over another. So that is a movie, it usually doesn't get talked about, in queer movies you should see, but you should see because it's a fun movie and just don't take so much, oh my god, that this is so on surface level representation. I think we focus so much on representation that we forget that we are real people. Yes, we need representation, we need our stories to be told, we need happy stories. But we are also everyday people. Not every day is a struggle, but not every day has to be a big story, a big.
Yeah.
I know someone listening to this will be like, "Oh, she's privileged," but it's like we are also human. Let's just be humans.
Yeah.
And I think I read it somewhere, or I listened to on a podcast that someone said that sometimes it's nice that you don't have to highlight, oh, it's a queer person. It's just a person.
Yeah.
It doesn't. We make it a big thing that you have. Oh, they love this person. They love that person.
Yeah.
It's just a person.
Yeah, like being gay or being queer or being bi doesn't like define you as a person. It's just a part of you,
Exactly.
not just completely you.
And I think that the representation, like we need good representation. A lot of people forget that the reason why we are asking for representation so that it becomes okay for us that okay, these are real people. We don't focus on the fact who is the love interest. Representation is meant to do that, not like be okay. Yeah, this is the market for heterosexual. This is the market for homosexual. This is the market for.
This is exactly what has been happening nowadays.
Yes, the people just divide it like that, and always, even if it's with women and people of color, the representation is that it's okay to see us on screen. It doesn't matter who is on screen. The focus is the story.
Yeah.
So why are we focusing on who's playing what character, what is their race, who they love?
Yeah.
So this is why I liked Kapoor and Sons, because it's like, okay, Fawad Khan is gay and his mother gets pissed, but then the focus shifts on family, how they were a dysfunctional family.
Yeah, and I feel like if you really think about it, Fawad Khan playing such a character is really good for people as well, because people were really obsessed with Fawad Khan at that time, and him playing a role like that made people see, okay, this is not something which should be less talked about. This is like something which we can really see in mainstream movies. Yeah,
we live in a big city.
Yeah, we are privileged.
We are privileged. We have access to social media, and the thing is, even in social media, even if you're on social media, you have your own micro worlds. People don't realize even if the world is interconnected, everyone has their own micro world.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have sometimes surface level stuff.
Yes. Because like I can see that him playing Rahul's character is just not him playing a gay character. It's about playing a character who's a perfect son, who's a good writer, who's responsible for the family, has a lot of responsibility on himself.
Exactly. And even though his story isn't, he doesn't have a fleshed out story as a, a homosexual guy, he has a fleshed out story as a person.
Yeah.
And that is the thing we should focus on. We have every single facet of, his personality. And sometimes when when filmmakers aim for representation, when they aim for the brownie points, as someone of us might say, the main focus is that, oh, this person is queer. There is nothing else
They end up becoming the flower pot character.
Yeah, exactly. Even if they're the main character of the movie. I am a real person, and every day I think about, okay, I have to be the perfect daughter. I have to be there for my friends. Yeah. And I think about these things, and in midst of that, there is this thing, oh, this is something that a lot of people in my life don't know. Yeah. But I'm also dealing with everything else also. So I like that he was a child who just wanted acceptance from his mother.
Yeah, and that's why he did, because sometimes the parental acceptance or the familial acceptance is very difficult to get.
And that's why so many of us don't come out, because the what if is so scary.
Yeah, the what if question just literally hangs on to you for a long time.
Exactly. And when we were kids, our parents won't be like, do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? Now they ask
you, do you have a partner?
And it's like, you want to say, this is not the point, this is the point. You can say, you can just not make it non-binary in the sense that add the word partner, but telling them why they should speak that, and even the risk of them questioning this is so scary. Because I just like, every time I have talked every time me and my friend talk about this topic, I'm talking in such hushed voices, even though I know my mother is accepting, but I know not everyone in my family is. So it's that fear will always be there. So I liked that Fawad Khan's character was a typical yet a different take on something that is very typical situation that is hiding something so big from.
Oh, talking about Fawad Khan's character brings me about the topic of, guess what, Ayushmann Khurrana.
Yes.
Because he played a gay man in a mainstream film.
Yes,
Which
he
is
did.
Shumangal Zada Savdhan, and it was much talked about in the film and much talked about by the society as well, because people were acquainted with Ayushmann Khurrana at that time. He did a lot of stuff at that time. He was a pretty popular name, and him doing a queer movie really was talked about in society.
And I think it was like Ayushmann Khurrana is so famous for taking on social issues, social
Yeah.
roles. So everyone was not surprised, and I don't think like in queer faces also, person that surprised was our beloved Jeetu Bhaiya.
Definitely.
Exactly.
And was the surprise.
Yes, and but I like that. I think these days I like the fact when you have very masculine guys portraying gay character, because every time
Yeah.
you see a gay person, they end up just making them, that bend hand emoji, like the very stereotypical.
Effeminate.
Yes,
even,
yes.
yeah.
They just make them so feminine, so stereotypical. So I like every time we get a character or a portrayal of a gay person.
Yeah.
And even in lesbian movies also, I like when both the women are feminine, because so many people have like, okay, they are sapphic, so they have very butch personalities.
Yeah.
Not everyone does. Not everyone does.
Yeah, that's true. And like in the movie, it is a very like light-hearted one and full of family drama. But if you really think about the movie, Jeetu Bhaiya's character is actually Aman and his character is Karthik. Karthik is a character who is so free-spirited, he doesn't give a damn about anyone else except his boyfriend and his people. And it's like, you know what, everyone can just go away from me, and I couldn't care less. But even if someone dares to touch a hair on his head, I'll kill them off.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is so beautiful to see at the same time. And like I remember watching the movie and having that situation between Aman and his dad and Karthik, where Karthik is trying so damn hard to make Aman's fathers understand that it's okay to be gay and it is not a bad thing that he's gay, when they are basically caught by his father kissing in the train.
Yes. I think it's such a perfect representation of the desperation you feel.
Yeah.
Because you're desperate, because you know that if they don't accept, I am losing my family forever. There will come a day that you will be, alone. The devastation that your parents are alive, but they have disowned you, they hate you just because who you love. And it's whenever I hear stories of parents, kicking someone out, I know someone whose family kicked them out, and every time I talk to him, he was like, it was never in my hand. It was never in my hand. Seeing Ayushmann being so desperate on screen just because, please let me be, just let me be.
Yeah. And like if you really think about the movie, I can see a lot of people relating with Jeetu Bhaiya's character, which is Aman, because Aman lives in a conservative family where he really can't express what he feels, and he really can't talk to his family about his boyfriend and say, oh, I don't want to marry a girl, I want to marry this guy. But he can't really tell them. And when his father gets them involved with each other, and they were basically caught by him, so he ends up in a situation where he's in a dilemma. What should I do?
Exactly. You don't want to lose your family, but you also don't want to lose
The
your
love of
person.
his life,
Yeah, exactly. I'm not in a situation like this, but I feel like one day, what if I am and I have to make that choice?
Yeah, the choice is what makes it very scary.
And that's why when it's a happy ending, I love it, because the hope it's everything.
Yeah, that's true. And like at the end, when Aman gets the courage and say it in front of family that I don't give a damn about anyone, and that I just care about what my boyfriend thinks, and I really want to be with my boyfriend, and they just put so much effort to be with each other.
That scene to me, it was very, Yash Raj romance, because in i-radiolive, Shah Rukh Khan saying that I will be with her, I love her, I want to marry her. So these things in a queer context. Now we have movies like that where the guy is declaring his love and fighting with his family for the love of his life, and it's not a woman. If it's a woman doing, like, in Sonam Kapoor's movie, ladki ko dekha to aise laga, if I remember.
Yeah, that's the right one.
Exactly. So they are declaring their love, they are being the hero of their story, and it's nice to see that it's for people like us. It's representing people.
For me, I believe that it is very important to get some kind of light-hearted comedy or light kind of relatable kind of stuff as well, because it's very important to talk about social issues when it comes to LGBTQ community, but a lot of people forget that they are people as well. They just want to be represented as normal people, not just someone special.
I think it's a problem with all kind of representation, that when we focus so much on representing people, we forget that yes, their struggle should be represented. They also get happy ending. Not everyone has a sad ending, you know. And that's why I recently watched Saving Face, which is a rom-com. This is about two Chinese immigrants and they fell in love, and it's a very typical Asian family. Like we as Indians, we would relate a lot to her mother, the way her uncles and aunt behave. But it's also at the same time it's so light-hearted, it's so focused on the romance. And yes, there is, you know, question about her struggle because her mom knows but she doesn't acknowledge it. But it's also funny, it's light-hearted in ways, and you get a happy ending. So I think I want something like that from Bollywood, because I just imagine our heroes being in love, and
It's a good feeling.
exactly, it's a romantic comedy.
And sometimes I feel like not everything can be good at times, because movies like Aligarh are very much important to talk about.
And movies like Aligarh remind us that this is why we need rights, this is why we need education, because a grown up guy, a guy who's independent, a guy who's a professor, and he's like humiliated, he's harassed because who he loves in the privacy of his home. And this is why I was so mad that that movie had an 18 plus rating, because it's so infuriating, because kids need this education, kids need to know that it's alright, because I just recently graduated, and the kind of jokes I heard my classmates, I heard people in my college make, and I just thought, God, what if we had like a sex education, we had queer education, where kids are taught that it's okay, you don't have to make the chakka jokes they make.
That is not at all fine.
Exactly. And I think this censorship and this nahi bachao bahar, like itna nahi dekhna, when especially parents don't realize how much of the internet is accessible to us, and the kind of things kids see. So what they need is good education, what they need is a right. They would watch something between two guys which is very humiliating, degrading, but they won't see it in a movie, and when they see it in a movie they would make fun of it.
And you know what? It breaks my heart to see the movie, because it's such a wonderful movie. And then the scene where Siras is sitting alone and listening to classical music and drinking whiskey, that breaks my heart off.
So lonely.
It's very lonely, full of misery and pain.
Exactly. And that scene it's 24/7 for so many of us. It's 24/7.
Because you can't just express it out, no? Like, it's just so much inside you that you can't tell anyone. Siras, being a gay man in the movie, is being subjected to so much pain and misery from everybody. No one really is to support him.
And that loneliness is, that is the perfect representation for so many of us, because even when you're with friends, even when you're with family, you feel a loneliness, because you can't be open like everyone else does. When I see those scenes where you can feel the loneliness, it just makes me realize that it's...
I would like to say, I feel like in the community there's a lot of loneliness inside, because people are people there, but they can't really express it, how they're feeling, or they're supposed to like get a label to themselves ki, oh, I represent myself as gay, or I represent myself as bisexual, but they can't go ahead and say ki, oh, I just belong to the community, or I'm queer, because people keep on asking, what does queer mean really for you?
And this kind of reminds me of Rajkumar Rao in Badhai Do, because even I at times feel like I am not queer enough. I'm not participating in queer spaces. If I'm not involving myself, I'm not queer enough. I'm not doing it right. And when I saw him in that movie, I felt so related, because it's not possible for all of us. And even though, this is why I think I consume so much media, queer media, because I know it's not possible for me all the time to to involve myself in queer spaces. Sometimes it's because of my studies, sometimes it's because of my work, but most of the time it's because first of all I have to travel a long distance to get there, and it's not possible every day. When Bhumi Padnekar tells him, like, she becomes open when they are away from their family, but he has a really hard time, so I understand it. And
you could relate more with Rajkumar Rao's character.
Exactly. Even though I wanted to be Bhumi Padnekar and her girlfriend, but I could relate, because even though when you're being with a queer person, still you feel like you're not enough. which every human does in some other capacity. But sometimes there is this check mark you have to take. This is the way you have to be a queer person. All these things you have to do. You have to go to the Pride March. When I saw Badhai though, I think that felt for me very relatable in a sense, even though I'm participating in queer spaces. That feeling of not being enough, which everyone feels as a queer person, it was very aptly handled for me. This Pride month, I was away from home, I was with my family, but I forgot myself that it's not just in June I am a queer person. I'm a queer person till I die. So it's okay. It's okay if I sometimes take a step back. If it's okay if I sometimes not express myself openly and loudly.
Yeah, and I feel like if we really think about the Badai Do Wala movie, the character of Bhumi Pednekar and even Rajkumar Rao, they both are in a marriage which is actually just a lavender marriage where they're just faking it off because they are a gay man and a lesbian woman who just wants to get the family off their back ultimately. Yeah. And in that situation, I feel like they both are trying so hard to hide from the family that even when Bhumi Pednekar does get along with her girlfriend Rimjim, and on the other hand, Rajkumar Rao does have a boyfriend or a lover, if you know. But he has a hard time, like you said. He has a hard time expressing himself, and the part of him, which is like the masculine part of him, is saying, no, I can't behave a certain way because I'm accustomed to it and because I belong to a conservative family.
Exactly, and that was also a very new thing because whenever you see a gay representation, it's like they're always, happy with who they are. But what so many people don't realize that we don't grow up in a society where it said it's okay to be this. When guys dress up, it's 2024. Even to this day, when guys dress up and if they're very stylish, people question. And if they're stylish, they make fun of them or like. Now it's very toned down, but because it's okay because you're being stylish on Instagram and what and all. But I remember 5 years ago when guys were stylish and the questions people would ask behind their backs and talk about them.
Like, how can you have a good style and not be gay?
Exactly.
If I had a good fashion sense and people would call me gay, I would be fine with it. Like, I have a fashion sense, I'm superior than you. What are you even talking about?
Exactly. And it's
what I mean?
Not every queer person has a great fashion sense. Not every queer person is so loud and extrovert, which I think a lot of people have a perception. So I think it was nice to see Rajkumar Rao's character being a gay man and also fighting with things that it's expected of every man in this society, because you can, if you're gay, it doesn't mean you are not privy to toxic masculinity. You are not saved from it. The gay
even the patriarchy, if you think about it.
I think a lot of people, especially heterosexuals, they think when you're gay, you're lesbian, Gaga, Beyonce, they will save you from the patriarchy.
They really can't save you because they are not superheroes.
Exactly. I think a lot of people have this perception that queer people, if they're queer, they're a step above. Some people I've seen that they think they have right opinion on every single issue, but you can be oppressed in a way, but you can also be the oppressor in the second part. So I think Rajkumar's character was very perfect of it, that yes, a large part of the society oppress him, but he's also a man. He's a man.
Yeah. He's a man, he has a privilege, and he is a person who has a position of authority in the film. He's a police officer.
And I think that's why it was nice to see him struggle with it, because people expect that police officer, very masculine, tough guy, big guy. And they don't think gay people are tough guy, big guy. This is what we mean by representation. Even in different jobs, like Fawad Khan, he was a writer. He was also a masculine character, but he wasn't dealing in it in a way that Rajkumar Rao was. Masculine guy in a typical job, but very different struggles. One was hiding from his family, but was kind of true to himself. The other was also kind of true to himself, but he couldn't say it out loud. Like Fawad Khan moved away, he was open, but Rajkumar Rao we saw that he used to hide so much. So I think that's why I liked it, and Bhumi I loved.
I feel like a lot of the movies are mainly about the familial acceptance or the societal acceptance. Like Aligarh was about the societal acceptance, while if we talk about Shubh Banka Zyada Saal, it was more about the familial acceptance of the father than compared to the other family.
Exactly, and I think which kind of brings that so many of these movies are about gay men. We don't get, we know how much, fetishized lesbians are. So we don't get a lot of their stories. That's why Fire was so groundbreaking. That's why people loved Bhumi Pednekar Rim Jim, right?
Yeah.
Rim Jim's portrayal. We have discussed, I think, 4 or 5 movies, and the main storyline is about a gay man.
Yeah.
So the gay man is in the queer, I think in the queer community, the gay portrayal,
is more common nowadays.
gay portrayal is becoming the heterosexual
Yeah,
portrayal.
I agree with you on that point. If you really think about it, not even in India, outside India, abroad, it's more popular to represent like women as the other women in gay relationships.
Exactly. And that's why
I feel like in a way of commercializing things, we are kind of like forgetting the diversity of the characters and the story.
everyone knows the struggles, and still
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you have to stop narrating, you have to stop showcasing gay stories, but
Yeah.
trans people, asexual people, aromantic people, they also need
Yeah,
representation.
they need representation. The fact that in Indian movies, I feel like we need to make it more diverse in nature. Like it can be on university level, it can be in office romance, something like that.
So long for a gay, like showcasing multiple movies about gay men. I don't know how long it would take to for lesbian cinema to be okay in Bollywood. I can't imagine in my lifetime they would be okay. To I just like showcase trans stories. That was why Joyland was such a big thing, because it was about a guy who was in love with a trans woman, and
Yeah.
people couldn't understand how you are in love with a trans person. Are you gay? Are you straight? And that's why we need their stories also. We need stories about trans people falling in love with another trans person. We need stories about them falling with a straight person. I've seen people whose articles I used to read. There is a writer on BuzzFeed. She was a video producer, and she came out as gay, and then their partner, who was a man before, they came out as women, and people questioned them so much that how your dynamics change and all that. People were fetishizing it. Not even Hollywood, not even Western cinema has that representation. So I feel like we as the whole world cinema, we should want better for queer people.
The discussion basically gave me a better insight about how things are going for the community, and you as a part of the community gave me a better insight like how the community needs to be represented. It needs more diversity in the kind of stories that they are being portrayed and the kind of characters that are being used for the community. Like it's very limited to certain spaces, and people I guess really need to see how things are for the community. I feel like they are very restricted, and the rating of A, like the adult movie being put on a lot of gay movies, is not the solution.
Exactly, we saw it happen with Aligarh. Now it's happening here.
I really want the communities, and I really want the Central Board for Film Certification to really look into it and see ki we shouldn't really impose adult ratings on movies, which needs to be talked about.
Shielding it, like where you put 18 plus movies, you're putting gay movies, you're shutting it out, you're fetishizing it, and you're allowing straight people to enter those spaces where they can't really give perspective to it, if you think about it. Because so many times I've read books, so many times I've seen TV shows where I think it's made by a queer person, but it's not. It's straight people giving their opinion.
Yeah, I feel like if we get more representation by queer producers and people who can really actually make stuff for the community, that would be nice. And like it would be really amazing if people like you who have better insight about things can actually work for the cinema stuff and literature and actually do something for the society.
Exactly. And I think so many times people are like, her time representation, but they don't realize that if we get representation in front of the cinema, we also get representation behind the cameras also.
Yeah, exactly.
And getting representation behind the cameras is more important, because when queer people tell their stories, they're telling their story. You get better stories.
Yeah.
I as a woman cannot give a better story about a man. A man cannot give a better story about me.
You can just give your side of the story. Now, जब आप पे आप बीती concept comes in, you can just tell the story what has happened to you ultimately.
Exactly.
And this was such a wonderful discussion talking about with you. I would like to just end it by saying that I really hope we get more movies, especially Indian movies, which have more diversity and where we can really see like the representation. Because especially for kids, I feel like it is very important to get more representation. For the adults, I feel like they can still understand it because they have been through stuff and they have seen a lot of things in their life. But for kids who are just curious and they are not really sure how to go about things, if they see in cinema and get educated about it, they will be able to go the right way about it. Because I don't think so. Teenagers are the best people who really like to talk to their parents about things. And if they get something like this, they'll be
I think
having something to talk
more
about.
more than being able to talk about with their friends, they will stop making the jokes they make,
Yeah.
which are so uncomfortable to hear when and it also like for someone like me to hear something like that, it's so hurtful when I hear someone I consider a friend talking about someone from my community talking like that. So I think the biggest problem is that kids need to learn that it's not okay, and the more we talk about things like that, the more they will realize that it's not okay. And the same way so many people now realize that mental health is important. I wish there comes a way that so many people realize that talking like that, the way they make jokes, it's not okay.
Yeah.
There will always be some people that will never learn, but we can hope.
Yeah, we can just hope for the better, and this is what I would like to say for the people. If you can't be a lover, just don't be a hater. At least try to understand the things and read about things before you say something. And this is how I'd like to end it on a note. I would like to thank you so much for being here today. It was amazing having you. It was such a wonderful discussion.
I'm very happy to be here. I'm always available when there's a chance to talk about movies, there's a chance to talk about books, and especially with you. So it was a easy experience. It was a wonderful experience for me, and if you would have me back, I would love to be back.
I would love to have you back on the show. Thank you so much for being here today. It was amazing having you. Thank you.
You're listening to Satyavani,
the voice of the APJ Satya University, India's first liberal arts and meta university.
For further information, please visit our website university.apj.edu, university.apj.edu